Hi, welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Great to have you in the conversation. Just looking at kind of some economic news. There's a report out. Let me see if I can find that one. Here's a story from the New York Times about the dismal state of our economy. How many college-educated people now are working as receptionists, paralegals, administrative assistants, file clerks, and even office runners. And they all have college degrees. Now, the New York Times presents this as if, hey, you got to get a college degree now to be eligible for even these menial jobs. That's not the point. They're completely missing the point. These are the only jobs that these poor people can get because of what Barack Obama has done to this economy. You get a BA degree and you're stuck serving as a runner in a legal office. Now, the New York Times tries to put the best spin on it, but again, that's just because they are just lapdogs, a poodle press for President Obama. And even the GAO, this is President Obama's own budget arm, the GAO, they're saying that President Obama's policies are, quote, not sustainable, that they aren't going to work over the long haul. Now, here's a piece from Europe, their decimated car market. Their car market is falling through the basement. That has an impact on the United States because we sell a lot of cars overseas. I mean, that's a huge market for U.S. automakers, and the demand is just not there because their economies are in the tank. All of Europe now is in recession. They all had negative growth. Their economies, every last one of them, shrank in the fourth quarter, just like the economy in the United States did. This article says European car registrations had their worst January on record. And here's a piece by Daniel Doherty at Town Hall talking about the fact that, the millennials, these are people 18 to 30, people under 30, they voted overwhelmingly for Barack Obama. And it's a mystery because these people obviously are poorly informed. It's like, I think it was Will Rogers said, if somebody reads the newspaper, if somebody doesn't read the newspaper, they're uninformed. If they do read the newspaper, they're misinformed. That's what we've been talking about. So if people don't follow the mainstream media, they're uninformed. If they do follow the mainstream media, they are misinformed. The only people that got the accurate scoop are people that listen to alternative media like Focal Point and AFR Talk. But here are these millennials that vote overwhelmingly for Barack Obama. Only 62% of them, according to Harvard University, even have jobs. And of the 62% of the folks under 30 that even have jobs, half of them are working part-time jobs. And yet these are the people that think Barack Obama is the bomb. And he has so damaged this economy, they can't even get jobs. Meanwhile, we've had gas prices going up for 32 straight consecutive days. And you got more rich people leaving the United States. Here's Manny Pacquiao. He's a boxer. He had a big, huge, monster, multi-million-dollar payday coming up for a big fight in Las Vegas. He's not even going to do it. He's leaving the country. He's had it because the taxes here are just simply too high. So that's what, that's what's going on. Harvard University saying, look, only 62% of people under 30 even have jobs, and half of those are part-time jobs. Well, let's grab James Carville with that as a backstop. And here he's a Democrat strategist, and even the Democrats now, they're getting pretty wigged out about the damage that Barack Obama has done to the economy. Here's what James Carville says.
Right now, currently, the biggest problem we have is we've had too many people unemployed for too long a period of time, and this is a human tragedy of the first order that we need to be looking at very closely to see what, if anything, that we can do about this.
Oh man! Here's the Democrat strategist just now waking up to the fact that we've got an employment problem in America. Just now figuring it out. 4.5 years into Obama's regime, and James Carville, it's just suddenly dawned on him, we've had too many people out of work for too long, and Boy, we got to look very closely to see what, if anything, we can do about this. So James Carville just now says, oh, wow, holy Toledo, we better start giving some attention to these unemployment numbers. These numbers are horrible. I've never noticed it before. I hadn't seen it. It hadn't dawned on me what miserable shape our economy is in. So these guys are just now putting their minds to work to try to figure out what in the world they can do about this problem. Now, I've got some, let me take some phone calls, and we'll play those Second Amendment clips in the last segment. Let's go to the phones, if I can get to the right page here. Let's go to Eric in La Grove, Oklahoma. Number is 888-589-8840. Eric, La Grove, Oklahoma. What's on your mind?
Well, Brian, the other day, and thank you for your program, the other day I mentioned to you that I was hip on Dr. Ben Carson after hearing his wonderful speech there at the prayer breakfast. And with that in view, let me set this up. Okay, we've always been taught that power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. I say no. The Scripture says the heart of man is already corrupt. The fact is that centralized power gives a man virtually unlimited opportunity to exercise his corruption, or put another way, power reveals the corruption that's already present in a man. Now, let's take that to the 2016 presidential candidate and our choice of him. You know, if we have a choice between an unsaved conservative versus a conservative follower of Jesus Christ, I say that we need to go with the follower of Jesus Christ. If Ben Carson is who I think he is, I think it would be a beautiful thing. Why? We've already seen him speak truth uncompromisingly to power, just like Moses did to Pharaoh, John the Baptist did to Herod, and many other biblical historical figures that spoke truth to power. The problem is we've got this centralized power in D.C. A man gets up there, you know, and they live. These politicians in D.C. live like kings and queens. They're surrounded by pomp and circumstance, majestic architecture. It's kind of a fairy tale world where they're out of touch, and they will do then, because they don't have the Spirit of God living in them, they will do whatever it takes to hold on to that power. The power goes to their head. And that's why our founding fathers gave us a separation of powers. They knew it was an inherent danger. So I say that one thing that we've got to do as we think about this is we've got to look to someone who's not just a conservative, because they can, they don't have the Spirit of God living in them, and they get a taste of that power. And it's going to be something very hard to resist. Even as a child of God, we have struggles and temptations. But when we walk in the Spirit, we'll not go after do the deeds of the flesh. So I say, if Ben Carson is a follower of Jesus Christ, as I think that he is, he's high on my list, because we've already seen that he is unafraid to speak truth to power. And I think then, if we would pray for this man, a man like that the possibility of him compromising then and not holding firm to biblical convictions would be a very small possibility that he would not hold true.
Yeah. All right, Eric. Well, listen, I appreciate that call. Thank you very much for that. And I think that I think that Ben Carson is going to run into the same problem that Herman Cain ran into. Herman Cain did not have a background in politics. He had a background in business. Dr. Carson has a background in medicine, one of the premier neurosurgeons in the entire world, pediatric neurosurgeon. And what's going to happen is he's going to very quickly get pressed hard on specific policy issues. Now, that's where Herman ran into some trouble, because he just had not had time in grade to develop his thinking on the wide range of issues that a presidential candidate's got to deal with. So what that means is for Dr. Carson, and they wound up cutting Herman Cain down like a scythe. So what Dr. Carson's going to have to be prepared to do is he's going to have to be prepared to do his homework and get himself in a position where he is ready to handle those questions. Now, here's what Dr. Carson said about Clip 14. Here's what Dr. Carson said about running on ABC this week, and maybe a follow-up to our last caller. He's talking about how he's going to make his decision about whether or not to run. Let's listen.
Before you go, I got to ask you, so the Wall Street Journal, Ben Carson for president. You're retiring as a surgeon this summer. What do you make of it? Are you going to get into politics?
It's not my intention to do that. But as I always say in every part of my life, I'll leave that up to God.
So that becomes the question then. He's going to leave it up to God, so maybe God's waiting to hear from us. So if you had God's ear, would you ask him to prompt Ben Carson to run for president? Would you like to do that? Now, I know God listens to this program because he listens to every program, and he hears everything that's said. Nothing is hidden from him. So he hears what's said on this program. So God's listening. So you got an opportunity to express your desires with regard to Ben Carson and the presidency right here, and God will take note. So Ben Carson's going to leave it up to God. What do you want God to do about that? Let's go to Jim in Spring Hill, Florida, 888-589-8840, the number 888-589-8840. Jim, Spring Hill, Florida, what's on your mind?
Thank you very much for having me on, Brian, and I just want you to know that I want to be as prejudiced as you are.
As biased. All right, you and me.
Biased or prejudiced.
We'll be the biased brothers.
And I would like to ask you a question. Do you think there are any lawyers in Washington?
Is that like a trick question?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I want to know why lawyers don't know the difference between unlawful and illegal. The illegals that they keep on talking about are sick birds. Unlawful is what the people are that are coming across the borders. They're unlawful.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's
illegals. They aren't sick birds.
Yeah. Well, that may be a helpful distinction. Well, anyway, I appreciate the call, Jim. Thank you for that. Jim and me forming a new group called the Bias Brothers. You know, and it's interesting to me. I sent a tweet out about the fact that trespassing on American soil is a crime, and somebody replied and said, "No, it's not. It's a misdemeanor." And so I went to the dictionary, and sure enough, you break the law, that's a crime. You can have a misdemeanor crime, you can have a felony crime, but if you break our immigration law, that, my friends, is a crime. So illegal aliens, technically, legally, according to Webster, they are criminals living inside the United States. Focal Point AFR Talk.